Hey everyone, happy 12/12. So peaceful sitting out here. I'm in the backyard and I just thought I'm going to do a video. How you all doing? Today I'm going to talk on connection briefly, and I thought this was just a beautiful place and setup out here. A bird just flew by. So how you all doing anyway? Connection. The greatest gift we will ever have, that we will ever know about and have that awareness, is the connection to ourselves. The greatest gift we can ever give ourselves is connection to ourselves. And this is a daily practice for me and all of us that get to a point that know that connection to ourselves is the most important thing. When you have that connection, that innate knowing yourself, of your connection to yourself, and then to anything in the external, it can really help you navigate your spiritual path a lot easier, but also navigate more deeply when you're doing your shadow work and things like that. So I wanted to share, I was thinking today that I was just thinking before, and I thought I might do this video on connection. And one thing that I was thinking about that drew me to do this video is share a couple of things. And one was that when my original mentors and coaches that I had when I started, years ago, they taught connection back to yourself, and they taught everything around connection. And at the time, no one else was teaching that out there. And even now, even out there more so, I don't ever really hear a lot of people teaching about connection. Like, obviously, there is like splinters and legs off to that, as in self-love, personal development, sharing and coaching, and spiritual work, and all of that sort of stuff. But people kind of lose the key factor of connection, and everything comes back to how you're connected to yourself. So how the relationship you have with everybody else will be about the relationship you have to yourself. Connection to others is always, how are you connected to yourself? How are you showing up in the connection to yourself before you look at how you're showing up into the connection with others? And those of us that are on this beautiful soul divine path with a divine counterpart, our divine masculine or feminine, like, we learn that at a really early stage, because the connection happens straight away and all of the activations happen around that. So we kind of, even if we haven't thought of it or don't know much about connection or haven't thought about connection, we're kind of really catapulted in to having to learn about connection and learn that deeper connection back to ourselves, because we are completely connected 100% in every way with another being, another person here that is in a physical body, in a physical form. So we learn very quickly about connection. So it's a little bit different to when you, meet a soulmate or meet a best friend or someone and you just know you have a connection. And that can show up in the form too of, sorry, I just got an ant bit my toe, and it's a little bit, yeah. Okay, I'll let you go on your way, but that kind of hurt. So connection, when we meet people and we feel a connection, that's amazing too. But when you have a divine counterpart here and you're sharing the same energy field and consciousness, and embodying that soul and everything, like, that's just really accelerated. That's really that's different type of connection. Still connection, but it's that intense that it actually really catapults you into yourself a lot more, and you have to, otherwise you would just keep running from yourself all the time. So it forces you to go back within, and which is an amazing thing, and that's when I was talking about these mentors and coaches that I had. There is just, I've never come across anyone since on YouTube or anywhere actually that teach connection like they do. And I'm very grateful that I learnt from them, despite anything that went on out in the physical world in regards to them and other people or what happened. It's about, and this is what I want to move into saying, that, you know, there might be people out there that will say things about people or bag others, or they might have had an experience caused by a trigger that puts them into an energy of you know, going out there and saying negative things about people or whatever. But it all comes back to yourself and who you work with, and what they can do to help for you, and how you connect with them in that way, in that space. And when you're connected to your heart and your soul, I mean, I was in my ego a lot in the matrix world, but I still actually led a lot from my heart, and I had that awareness from a child that, you know, I wasn't from here and all of that sort of stuff, as I wrote about in my book. So with that, you're never really fully in the matrix or fully in that ego world, you know what I mean? So yeah, but one thing I wanted to just share is about going back more deeper. These energies at the moment, well, they've been going on for so long, as we know, but even more so, you know, like I was saying earlier in the last video about coming into the Christ consciousness that's being embodied on this planet. And it's really time, if you haven't already, to really get back into that deep connection to yourself. And examples of that are, yes, listening to people that, you know, like, don't get lost in listening to people. Don't follow the narrative all the time of what people say. A lot of people get fearful of other people's experiences. So I'll give you an example. So I spent a lot of time in the physical with my divine masculine. So we had a lot of physical connection, and connection where, and I'm not saying that you can't pick up that energetically, because you definitely can, but we also had that beautiful time of physical connection as well, and in the physical, whereas I know that some divine counterparts don't have that yet, or haven't had that yet. But it's sort of, yes, it's intense, but it deepens the connection, and you just, you know anyway, you know, but it just even deepens the connection. But in the physical, like, both of us were in our mind and our head a lot, and our ego was running the show a lot, and because we were triggered a lot, and it was an intense, different times, we had amazing times, don't get me wrong, but the times where we were so triggered, it also you know, took us into our head, and then the ego takes over, right, and the fear takes over, and you start, you know, one person reacts this way, and, you know, there's lots of things, you know, that go through your head. But despite that, you never forget, or you never lose that connection, and you don't, not forget's not the right word, you just don't, you can't, if you're trying to block it, the connection's always there, right? So so we had a lot of time in the physical, and when my divine counterpart, my divine masculine part, when he went off with someone else, it was a bit of a shit show, and you know, his karmic partner found out about me, and then that was the shit show, and it all blew up, and he lied to her about who I was and what I meant to him, you know, which was nothing, and all this sort of stuff. And she believed him, and another ant just bit me on the grass. Anyway, she believed him, and then, you know, she went off at me and called me nuts and all that sort of stuff. But all that aside, never once did I buy in to that doubt. He could have lied to her to the cows come home, but I know the connection, and I know that he knows the connection, and that he knew he was lying. So we all do things at different times in our life for different reasons, right? We all run for the reasons of being triggered and intense or whatever. And maybe there was things going on with both of us back then that he knew that it wasn't the time or whatever. But I won't get into all the nitty-gritties of it. But the thing I want to tell you is that what I see in this spiritual community is, whether it is a soulmate, a divine counterpart like a twin flame, soul flame, whether it is or whatever it is, whether it's a career choice, whatever it is, we tend to, and this is how we're programmed from birth, we tend to listen to others, and then we jump into fear and doubt and think, oh, was I wrong? Oh my God, is something wrong with me? Like, am I really nuts? Am I wrong? And I see that happen a lot, and I never did that, because when you're connected to yourself, so luckily for me, before that situation happened, I'd already been working with these mentors for a few years, and I had a deep connection to myself. And I'm not saying I never got triggered by him, and it was and that it was tricky for me to really fully open my heart and trust. But the point I'm making is, I was already so connected to myself and what I felt, that when something like that happened, I did not go into the space of, am I right? Oh, sorry, am I wrong and he's right? Am I really feeling this right or not? Because I knew 1,000,000% our connection. I knew 1,000,000% that he also knows our connection. I knew 1,000,000% that when he was lying in what he was saying, he also knew he was lying. He might have been a bit confused on how to navigate our connection, how to navigate the intense love. But when you're connected to somebody like that, you not only feel your connection to them, you can also feel them being connected to you and how they're feeling, because it's in the energy, right? Like, I could hear what he was saying in his head before he'd say it. I could telepathically, we could relate. I knew we could be around each other, and I just knew what he was thinking, what was triggering to me a lot at some points back then, when I hadn't done as much of my inner work, because he didn't even have to open his mouth, and I knew what he was thinking. So it's very, very intense. It depends the level of connection you have with the person as to the degree you can feel that telepathy, you can feel you can hear them, what they're thinking, all of that sort of stuff. We are one of the original souls, so we're very, very connected. But in any case, when you're connected to somebody, when you're connected to yourself, you can always feel that connection 1,000,000% that you have, and the depth of that to somebody else. So did I run away and say, oh, well, no, he was right, and no, because I knew that connection. Did I get blocked and all that, where I couldn't communicate with him? Yes. But I still knew. I went on and thought, okay, well, I still know he loves me. I know that what we have is our connection. Never doubted it for a second. But if he went on and lied about it to be with somebody else, well, I can't change that fact. I can try and call him out. These ants are going everywhere. I can try and call him out on it, but at the end of the day, it's not my place to change that or fix that. Do you know what I mean? So when we're talking about connection, and I wanted to tell that story, some of you might think, oh, why did I go so much into that depth of that? Because that was a very pivotal story on connection, and how to be connected to yourself and to others. Because there's a lot of people, and I read comments in community, in other people's videos in the spiritual community, I read a lot of comments that people are saying, you know, oh, is this my person? Can you tell me if that? They'll ask a reader. It used to happen to me all the time. Can you tell me if this person's my twin flame or my soulmate or my this or my that or my person? And, you know, the only person that can tell you that is yourself. And the only way you know that is how connected you are to yourself. If you are not running, if you are not in an external form and you're going internally to yourself, because any other form is running, right? So if you are, can I explain this? If you are aware, and even when you're getting triggered, you are facing it, you're facing your fear, you're looking at it, you're trying to transmute that, you're working on it. If you have that awareness of that, then that you'll always go deeper into connection to yourself. And I don't know how else to explain it, in that you just know who you're connected to, and you just know if that person is your person. I could probably sit here and try and think of 10 other examples of explaining how, you know, to help someone, but I personally say that if you have to ask, then maybe they're not your person. For me, my experience is that I knew 1,000,000% that he was my person. Did I not run? Oh, of course I ran. I did run. Did I not do other things that might have made it look like that I didn't think he was my person, or that I didn't love him, or whatever? Maybe because I was running out of different fears and insecurities and unworthiness and, you know, all sorts of things. That doesn't mean I didn't know. I was running because I knew. When you're not sure, or someone's more likely to run away from it when they feel the intensity than when they don't feel the intensity. When they know how much and deeply they love you than when they don't love you. That's when they'll tend to, you know, run from the situation. But just bringing it back to connection, I thought that was, you know, a great way to explain it. And so for me, I was coached by these incredible mentors with connection, and the ants are still going to town out here. And and I also I trained under them as a coach, so I adapted a lot of that in my coaching methods. And I help a lot of people, so many people, back to connection to themselves, which, you know, I must say, you know, in a spiritual community, sometimes it's a little bit of a, you know, oh, of course we've got connection to ourselves because that's why we're doing all this. But no, actually, a lot of people don't. There is still a huge amount of people, no matter how spiritual they portray themselves is, that are still watching. And I'm not judging this, but I'm just saying, if you still have to watch an oracle card reader to find out if to convince you if you're connected to somebody, or if you still have to listen to a, you know, video on YouTube to tell you how you're feeling, or to get clarification on the energies or whatever, then you've got to go deeper into connection to yourself. Because when you're, I mean, it's okay to watch well, there's no judgment on any of it, but what I'm saying is to watch an energy reader on what might be coming up for, say, the portal opening, the eclipse or whatever. But don't get too stuck on that, because remember, where we align with our energy is what we invite in. So, you know, I used to always say to a friend that used to panic when Mercury retrogrades were around us, were upon us, and oh my God, now all these things are going to happen. I'm just watching it, a queen bee around here. Beautiful. And she used to get all in a panic, and I used to say, you do know that that's only going to happen if you invite that energy in. If you get into that consciousness, the Mercury retrograde consciousness of the collective, then that energy will attract to you and things will happen. And things would happen to her. And I'd sail through a Mercury retrograde because I just thought it's not going to affect me. So, you know, there might have been other things I didn't sail through, but that's just an example, you know, right? So so don't get too caught up in the narrative, and if you have to keep following, because when you're following someone too on their videos and the oracle readings and all that, you stay stuck in that energy of where they are and the reading. You will align with the frequency of what you're watching. So don't get too stuck in that. If you want to watch it just to see what's, but don't get stuck in it. Don't make it your lifeline. If it's your lifeline to getting through stuff that you're going through that's tough, come back to yourself and say, okay, how am I going to get out of this? Because we are sovereign beings, and to embody that sovereignty, it has to be what we know inside of us, not what we're watching, that we're getting validation from someone else, from an external source. It's like me, if I was trying to get validation from my divine masculine, that he was my divine masculine in that situation, well, I didn't get the validation, right? Because he went the other way. He went off with somebody else and he lied and said that we didn't have the connection we had. So if I needed his validation for me to know that we were connected, like, what would that have done? I would have ran the other way, wouldn't I? We have to stop seeking validation from others. So when you work with a coach, make sure that they are trying to take you back into yourself and create the best from you, not give you the answers, but show you how to find the answers and coach you through that, because there might be tough times. Like, I have coached some incredible women that have had really awful abuse and child abuse, and there's a lot that comes from that. Okay, and so I'm not saying people, when they're going through their shadow work and trying to release that, don't go through tough times, but our sovereignty is about us finding our sovereignty within and connection to ourselves, and building that and getting deeper into that connection and knowing our divine light, so that we can anchor in more of our higher self, right, into this physical body, this earth suit that we're in. And if we have to keep seeking others' approval or validation by watching other videos or readers or whatever, just be mindful of that. So if you enjoy it, fine, but don't rely on it, because I notice so many get caught up in loops. And I think I don't call it the New Age, but a lot of people put a lot of flack on the New Age community, and I think, that's why they might get it too, because people just end up in loops of following other people. It's great that you come together as a tribe and you support each other, but sometimes when you're supporting each other, that can also go into a codependency of the next video that this person that I'm following is putting out, to give me sanity or to tell me, or codependency on, I need this or I need that for that. And when we get caught up in those loops, we keep looping in that. And you might watch the same people that have been doing it for a few years with videos or whatever on YouTube, and you might stop and think, actually, they're kind of going around the same thing. And yes, the energies, we have been dismantling all this since 2012, predominantly dismantling so much of this older energy, right? The slavery template, the Akashic records we've been walking through and dismantling so much stuff to move into this gateway, in December. This 12/21, 21/12, wherever you live in the world and what the numbers, because we in Australia say it the other way. We say the 21st of the 12th, 2021. So this gateway, this is coming in, this is coming full circle, and this is coming into this Christ embodiment, and we've had to transmute a lot of shit over these years. We really have, not just for our own personal self in this life, but in part for past lives, for our ancestors, a lot of stuff, right? And when you are connected to someone, you're doing the work together, and they're doing it as well, like for their ancestors and family and everything. And so with this work, until we really have connection back to ourselves, we will still always depend or be codependent on an outside source, no matter what that is. Person, videos, YouTuber, guru, whatever. You are the guru within. You find it within, you know. And I know when we go on this path, we do seek help from others, and that's fine. I'm watching videos because that's how we learn, and that's how we evolve, we grow. That's how we really get back to ourselves. But there comes a time when you've been on this path long enough that you have to really stop relying on others and connect back into yourself and allow yourself to feel, because we're taught to think, not feel. So it's not our default, it's not our go-to. You know, we have to allow ourselves to feel and let those feelings come over us and realize that it's energy. It's all just energy. We can release that. We can release the past. We can release blame, shame, guilt. We can release unworthiness. We can release doubt, fear. We can release... There is only love and fear, right? So all those other things I mentioned come from the fear. You're either on the love train or the fear train. And they really don't go... You can't be on both. Or you can have one foot on either. But when you're fully embodying yourself, and that's not to be perfect or anything like that, it's when you just have the full awareness that you've got it all within and you don't need to seek validation. You be who you are. You don't need to worry about what anyone else thinks of you. And that comes from the connection to you. So like I said, when people have called me nuts over the years, I could have downed tools and went back to, oh my God, people think I'm nuts. Oh, I'm going to go back to my matrix life. And, you know, but where would that have got me? You know, you don't do that. You don't listen to other people because you know who you are. You're a sovereign divine being. You carry light. We all carry shadow dark as well, but the more you embody those traumas, fears, wounds, doubts, unworthiness, blame, shame, all of that for self, the more you embody that, the more that you embody of that, and the more you clear out of that, the more light you embody to be able to clear out of that, clear that out, I should say, the more then that you bring more light into your body, you anchor that in, you work with your higher self more, you become your higher self, and you know, you just bring yourself back to that true connection of who you are. And like I said, it's not about being perfect. We are still in this human vessel, right? We're still in this human body, and there could look like a lot of chaos out there in the world today, and we could think, well, we've got to walk through that. But how do you walk through that? When you walk through that from self-love, open heart, embodiment of your sovereignty, really your full sovereignty, when you work from a place of knowing who you are and not seeking validation externally, you can walk through all that stuff, right? If you might, people, you know, and energies might come in and try and distract you, but when you set your boundaries, when you're in that space, I'm not saying it's not always easy, because again, it's not our default button. Our default button is all the other shit, right? But when you all of that, put all of that aside, and at the top of that, well, the top of that's love, but then underneath that is connection, and they go hand in hand. So when you have that deeper connection to yourself, all the green lights start going on, you know. All the parts to you as a lighthouse, the lighthouse that you are, start shining brighter. And, you know, that all comes from the connection you have to yourself. Because when you come back to that connection, that innate knowing of who you are, and that connection to yourself, and you don't have to know, you don't have to have all the answers. It's not about having answers. Like, I'm sitting here sort of thinking, people are going to be listening saying, well, yeah, but how do you do that? Well, you just do that in knowing who you are. And, you know, you don't have to have it all perfect. A lot of people spend a lot of time doing instead of being. When you spend more time of your day in an energy of being, that's when you're aligned with your soul, and that's when things show up. People talk about the present. Yeah, it's about being in the present, and I get it. There is things in life that we have to think of the future, to book in things or whatever that we're doing, but stay in the present moment. And when you're in the being more, you become so creative. Your light just turns on and so much brighter, and you just know where your soul aligned more, and that all comes through connection. So I cannot say enough about connection to self and working on that and coming back to that connection to self. And the story, the example I gave you of me and my divine masculine was to show all, like anyone out there that is watching this, that is in divine connections, because I know a lot of them do that. A lot of them, when the masculine runs or the feminine runs, depending on which side you are, or both of you might be running, a lot of you doubt the connection to the person. You doubt the love, or does he love me or does she love me? You doubt this because they might say one thing or another. But if you had that connection to yourself, then you wouldn't doubt. Because remember, you are one. They are you, you are them. The energy you feel, you share a consciousness, you share an energy field. So you're really just shining the mirror on each other to come back, to show each other you need to connect back to yourself, because you'll find the answer within. You only need to look at your divine partner through your third eye, not necessarily through your human eyes, and and obviously look, because you're looking at yourself through your third eye as well. You're connecting. I connect more with I live my life connected more to my higher self than I do my physical self. And a lot of people say, oh, you're not grounded. Hell yeah, I'm still grounded. I'm still grounded in my everyday life I'm doing. 2 weeks ago, I was out here painting a freaking pool. I'm grounded. The stuff I do, I'm still grounded. I don't sit on a mountaintop every day with fairy wings. I'm still grounded, but I embody more of my higher self, and I work more of my higher self. That's the world. That's my world. I've always kind of been like that from a child anyway. I've never fitted in. I always thought I was just weird and strange and different, and the first 10 years of my life I thought I was adopted because I didn't feel that connected to my human family, because I remembered where I came from, and I just knew I wasn't meant to be here. So that was always carried through for me, but I had to learn how to live in this physical world as well. But there is a balance. People can be too grounded and too in ego. Ego, there's a negative and a positive ego, and I talk about this in my course, and I might actually do a little bit of a couple of minute video on this, because it's really interesting. A lot of people just go, oh, egos, gotta get rid of ego, it's shit, it's bullshit, get rid of it. But ego, there is a positive ego as well, that really helps us. So yeah, so there's lots of things I've talked about here that are actually in my course as well, and I talk about connection, but a lot. But we really, like I said, be mindful of who you're watching, who you're learning under, who your coach is. Are you going around in circles? Are they teaching you to connect and helping you to connect back to yourself? And I mean really connect back to yourself, not surface stuff, like really deep connection back to yourself. You have to do that to embody your full sovereignty, to embrace your divine essence and being and soul, and be talking to your soul and connected and aligned with your soul, working on your spiritual path. And, and it's not about being perfect. What it is about is the truth of facing that truth, and facing those things that come up, and facing the fact that you might have to say, shit, I'm having a crappy day today because this is coming up, or that's the true sovereignty. Not trying to wash over it, not trying to push it aside, not trying to be in denial, not trying to run from it, not trying to put blinkers on, not trying to numb yourself for it. Like, that's your true sovereignty. And again, it's nothing about being perfect. Perfect is who we are. Being perfect is it's imperfect. You know, I've always said that perfect is about being, I guess, imperfectly perfect, if that's even a saying or a word or whatever. I might not have said that the right way. I've been saying it for years, but I just, yeah, can't remember how I say it now, but you know what I mean. Doesn't matter. It's a beautiful day out here. There is not a cloud in the sky. I have blue skies behind me, as you can see, and palm trees around me. I am under an umbrella though, so otherwise I wouldn't have been probably sitting in the heat. I wouldn't have been still doing this video. And it's a bit of a longish video, but that's okay. It's everything I've said is important, and I don't like to shorten just to please others when it's really necessary. When I have something so important to say like that, I'm not going to scrimp on time, you know. So anyway, guys, I think that's it. At the end of it, all of it, you know, it comes back to connection to ourselves. And like I said, that is the most important message, to know that connection to yourself. And don't run from that connection to yourself, because we might know it, but we still might run from it or close our hearts to it, or you know, not want to embrace it or embody it out of some fear, which usually comes back to our own self-worth, you know, of what our own unworthiness that we feel. We don't have unworthiness, we feel, we tell ourselves. We've been programmed from a society since birth that programs us to be in unworthiness instead of full worthiness. Like we're programmed from a society to whinge and complain and be in negativity rather than to be grateful and abundant and thankful, you know. Anyway, all right, I'm going to head off now because I think I can hear some noise out in the background. Take care. Happy 12/12. Moving on through these energies. I don't know about you guys, but I have felt a huge shift in the last week. And God, I went through some stuff too. I've been, really moving forward with shit that pops up. But I always come back to the connection to myself and say, why do I feel like this? Okay, it's energy. Let me move through it. Let it move through my body. Let it leave. Let me face it. Yeah. All right. You like my Flashdance t-shirt? I love Flashdance. I love 80s movies and music and everything. All right, take care, guys. Peace out. Talk to you soon. And put in the comments. Subscribe if you like this video, please, because I would like to get my numbers up. And put in the comments. Someone said the other day, asked me if I was going to do any more light work. The bring together, you know, the days that we were doing the light activations. If you want me to bring them back and you want to pick a day and let's all get together to do that, I'm happy to do that too. It's just that it kind of weaned out. A lot of people didn't comment anymore and I didn't know how many we had on board. So yeah, but comment anyway. Love you guys. Peace out. Take care.